In Fairfield County, something new comes across my desk every day. Crimes are committed, cases are solved, and a community is made safe by the hardworking employees of the Fairfield County Sheriff's Office.
Welcome to This Week with Sheriff Dave Phelan, a weekly program here on LSN Television. We're also carried by a number of the radio affiliates here in Lancaster. Do appreciate you, the viewers and listeners that join us each and every week. This program is actually shot at Fairfield Christian Academy. We appreciate the students. Our behind the scenes is our director, Kelly Roberts, does a great job lining the guests up, getting the questions together. So we do appreciate her hard work behind the scenes. We got a great guest for the next couple weeks. We have with us Commander Tod Cheney with the Pickerington Police Department. Good to have you.
Thank you for inviting us up here, Sheriff.
I mean, we were at a dinner a month or so ago, and you said, I'd like to come on the show, share a little bit about what's going on in Pickerington.
Yeah, I thought at that time that I didn't remember anybody from our department being on the show, so thank you for inviting us up here.
Yeah, and Kelly and I talked about it. We didn't remember anybody from Pickerington, and this program has probably been on for, at least 15 years on radio, and probably about 8 or 9 on television. So we're glad to have you.
Well, thank you.
Well, first of all, before we get started with what's going on with the Pickerington Police Department, the area of Pickerington, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, I am a Pickerington boy. I grew up in Pickerington, graduated from Pickerington Central High School in the early 90s.
Okay.
And directly after high school, I went directly into the Army, where I was a paratrooper and jumped out of airplanes in the U.S. Army. And after I got out of the Army, my father was in public service. He was both a Columbus police officer, and then went in, kind of switched around and went to the Columbus Fire Department, and was on there numerous years and retired from there. So, public safety had kind of always been in my family. And at that point, there was the Fairfield County Sheriff's Office in the mid-early 90s had an academy that was taking place down at the Ohio University Lancaster branch. And I had applied for the academy and was accepted. So I went through the police academy there in 1994 to the end of 1994 and graduated from the Sheriff's Academy, and then spent about just a little under a year as a special deputy with the Fairfield County Sheriff's Office.
Okay.
And then at that point, during that time, I had applied also for the Pickerington Police Department. They had some openings. So I was lucky enough to get hired on at the end of 1995 for Pickerington, and I've been there ever since.
And so do you actually live in the Pickerington area?
Yes, right up in Violet Township.
So that's got to make you feel kind of good. You went to high school, grew up there, and now you're the commander there.
Yeah, been there all my life.
I can remember when I was with Columbus, it was kind of a similar situation. At some point, I got reassigned to the neighborhood where I grew up.
Wow.
And grew up in there. Columbus is a big city, but I wound up on a place called 9 Precinct, which is the east side of Columbus, and it was such a thrill because I can remember I went by my elementary school, and my daughter was actually going there, so I went back to the school and did the kids where I went to elementary school, and they still had the same principal at that time after all those years. So it was it was a special time, and I really took a vested interest because this was my neighborhood, this is our church, and this is where we grew up.
Same thing for me. Yeah.
Now you mentioned you were a paratrooper. That kind of interests me because I don't really care a lot about flying. I'll do it, but I can't imagine jumping out of the plane. What do you have to do to become a paratrooper?
Well, back then, I know it's changed a little bit nowadays, but back then, it was an infantry position, so you went through infantry basic training.
Okay.
And then you immediately went into the airborne school, which was about 3 weeks. And I think we did 5 or 6 jumps in the airborne school, a couple of them at night. So you got to jump at night. And then you're assigned. Really, there's only one big airborne division in the Army, and that's the 82nd Airborne out of Fort Bragg, North Carolina. So I was stationed down there after graduating the airborne school.
Wow. So what was it like during that first? Were you pretty comfortable when you did that first
No,
jump,
not at all. No, it's kind of something almost every time. You still got to be pushed out the door. But if you've seen, some of the videos of paratroopers going, it's a static line. So you hook up inside the plane, and then everybody just kind of shuffles. So there's no stopping. I mean, you're going
once you're
moving,
committed, you're committed.
Yeah.
Huh? So, wow. Any close calls or anything? Was
no.
all okay?
No, it was all. There's very few accidents that happen from that. But
okay.
yeah.
So Pickerington Police Department, and also you have been a firearms instructor and a lot of different things. You're on the SWAT team. Okay.
Sure enough. Yeah. Basically, I started in 1995, and after I was on a couple years on Pickerington under Chief Fuller, we had looked at the possibility of starting up a canine unit.
Okay, I saw that.
We didn't have a canine unit at that point, and we kind of relied on the sheriff's office anytime we needed a canine, and obviously your guys are busy a lot of times, so we thought at that point that it was something maybe we should acquire. And I did some research on it, wrote a proposal and things, and Chief Fuller looked at that and took it to City Council, and they approved it. We ended up getting funding and starting a canine unit.
Now, were you the handler?
Yes, I was the handler for that. It was Czar was my dog's name.
Okay.
And that was back in about 98.
Okay.
We started that, and I had been a canine handler for about 8 years.
Okay.
And the canine ended up getting cancer, unfortunately, and we retired him at that point. And then after I was a canine handler, within a couple years, I was lucky enough to be promoted to sergeant, took a test and got promoted to sergeant, and then that's kind of when I took over the training. So, Chief Taylor, Chief Fuller, all of our chiefs, all the way back to Chief Pruden, have been, huge on training.
Okay.
So, I was lucky enough, once I became sergeant, he sent me through several training schools and became an instructor.
Is there anything that you're training for now that maybe you didn't do 10 years ago, or anything that's specialized as far as the training?
Well, I think the active shooter is the big thing that has come along, really since '99, from the Columbine, after the Columbine incident. But that's something that we hold a large exercise each year in our schools. We just held a training actually last week for our bus drivers, did active shooting for all the bus drivers up at Pickerington. And we're getting ready to get into the new hospital, things like that. So I'd say the active shooter is definitely something that's highlighted training nowadays.
Okay, so so you've been a training officer, instructor, road supervisor. Any area you like the best?
I like the training.
Did you?
I like the training, and we're just getting, since I've been promoted last year to commander, I've still kind of been in charge of the training until we get another sergeant up and running on that. So I still, definitely still enjoy the training aspect of it.
And before we came on the air, you said something that kind of surprised me. You said that Pickerington is actually growing about 800 to 1,000 people every 12 months, every year.
Yes.
That's pretty phenomenal.
The city's been maxing out on over 300 homes a year, basically every single year. And as far as I know, for the next couple of years, they've got permits out for that. So yeah, we're still really growing.
Yeah, and what I've really noticed about the Pickerington Police Department, I mean, you have you really seem professional, and I've noticed that, like my wife and I participate in the parades, and so it's just everybody always looks sharp, they look squared away, the cruisers are clean, and so it really is a professional operation.
And I'd say a lot of that comes from Chief Taylor. Chief Taylor, and he's very big on public imaging and public service oriented. So that flows right from the top down.
Now, within the Pickerington Police Department, I was looking at some of the notes. You have something that's very interesting called the Children Home Alone Program. What is the Children Home Alone Program?
We call it the CHAP program,
okay.
And we've had that for a few years now. And basically what that program is during the summers when school's out, a parent can sign up to be on that program, and they give us their address and contact phone numbers and things like that. And we kind of keep an extra eye on the house. So if maybe let's say their child gets into something they shouldn't be, has friends over who they maybe shouldn't have, that the parents, maybe doesn't want over there at the house.
Right.
We don't make contact with the actual child or anything like that, but we do contact the parents, say, hey, there's some strange cars at your house, and things like that. So it's kind of just to keep an extra eye on the play. And it also goes, if there's strangers there, maybe the child's inside and there's a strange car parked out in front of the house or in the driveway,
right,
then we can get a hold of the parents and say, do you know who this car is? And no, they don't, and then they can get a hold of the child, say, who's over at the house? And,
yeah.
and
Well, I don't
like
think
that.
I've ever heard of a program like that. Did you guys kind of come up with that concept?
Yeah, we kind of came up with that concept.
That's interesting.
If I remember right, some of the parents in the community had asked if we had anything like that, and kind of put the idea in our head, and kind of the program kind of started from there.
Wow, that's interesting. So is there a lot of interest in that program?
Actually, yeah, it kind of varies from year to year,
right.
And and depending on, you probably know some classes at schools can be a little bit more when it comes to crime type classes,
right,
and things like that. So a lot of it depends on how good the class is coming through the schools and whether or not parents really want to keep an eye. But yeah, usually a few hundred.
Wow,
couple hundred.
That's
yeah.
pretty. I guess I'm surprised.
Yeah.
Wow. So the parents probably like it. The kids are probably saying, "Oh no." Yeah.
Yeah.
It probably helps as far as that's concerned. If they think that there probably is a connection there, that they're going to be less likely maybe to get into mischief.
Yes.
That'd be fair.
And there has been some, that we've called the parents. They know they're not supposed to be over there, and they get a hold of the child and find out what's going on.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and school's just starting, so probably as far as your demands and things, probably is a little bit lessened, or you have less calls for service and things during the summer months, or does it, the school responsibilities kind of counter that?
Yeah, as soon as the school starts, then the program kind of stops for that summer, and then we start it up again soon as the next summer starts. But yeah, it's been a pretty good program.
We're just about out of time. I'd like to have you back next week, talk
Sure.
about some maybe trends you've seen in Pickerington as far as the types of crimes and those kind of things. Talk a little bit about your DARE program.
Sure.
And so we'd like to have you back next week.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
Commander Tod Cheney with the Pickerington Police Department joining us this week, and I do appreciate him taking time out of his schedule to be with us. Again, before we go off the air, I'd like to thank our executive producer, Kelly Roberts, the students at Fairfield Christian Academy who actually produced and put this program together, and certainly you, the viewers and listeners that join us each and every week. It is certainly an honor to have you, and all the nice comments we get about this program and the hundreds and hundreds of people that view the program each and every week. The clock on the wall says we're about out of time. Until next week, same time, same place. God bless, and we'll see you right here next week.